So we're just a few days into the launch of Black Ops 6 already, but that doesn't stop Treyarch from changing things on the fly, as Black Ops 6 has already received its first updates. But what changed? While a lot has changed on paper, there's still some bigger updates on the horizon that we still have to keep in mind, but we'll get there in a second. So as we go along, drop your thoughts down below, like in Black Ops 6 so far. If so, what's your favorite part? Let me know, and make sure to drop a like on the video and make sure to subscribe to stay up to date with all things Black Ops 6, as we're still just getting started on the content side of things here. A lot of stuff still coming, and I'd love to have in the community as we chase down 600,000 subscribers. But for now, let's get into the recent updates and what changed, which firstly, as a disclaimer, this is a little bit of catch up. Would have had this up last night, but we already had our schedule ready to go as of yesterday's content, so didn't want to disrupt that too much. But anyways, early upload, double upload incoming today. Let's start out with the global fixes and adjustments. There's a few cool noteworthy things here, where firstly, the first mentioned item is the last selected loadout will now properly highlight when opening the loadouts menu in-game. And that's a big quality of life change, or rather adjustment, fix, whatever you want to call it. Like total first world problem stuff, but genuinely it was so annoying to jump in, choose a loadout, and then open the menu to try and swap to something else. Either like I was doing, I was swapping guns out whenever I ended up completing them for certain challenges for camos, and I would end up changing the wrong class because it defaulted you back to the first loadout in the listing. So nice that that is finally fixed out. The option to mute licensed music is now properly functioning. This was something that honestly, when I saw that and I looked at it, that was a really cool feature. For a lot of people, it probably does not matter at all. Like this, I think targets a very, very small subset of people, probably like content creators and streamers, where in the past for reveal events, the events have had trailers with copyrighted music, which is why actually if you go and look for the Modern Warfare 2 reveal trailer, it's actually not on the Call of Duty YouTube channel anymore because they only had the licensing for the song used in it for I think about a year or so. Or they've had war tracks that have copyrighted music. So if somebody's playing and streaming that, that could affect their content. But again, very, very small subset of people. If you're just simply playing and watching on your own, probably doesn't matter to you. And you probably want to be jamming as you're driving around the war zone, jamming Wonderwall or something like that, which I forget which game that was a war track, but top 10 crossovers I was never expecting to see. But anyways, the enhanced headphone mode has also been temporarily disabled as of recent updates. This was an odd one because of course it's one of their like marquee items in terms of new settings for Black Ops 6, but it was creating issues that players could not cross-launch into either other titles in the COD HQ or even other modes. Like for example, players could not launch into the campaign after launching into multiplayer, or could not go back into Modern Warfare 3 or Warzone. Doesn't really make much sense, but it was something that was causing some issues there, and it doesn't mean that this is gone forever, just for a little bit as they remedy this situation. Gameplay related items, map fixes were made to Babylon, Lowtown, and Red Card, where there were exploits that allowed players to get out of the map. Obviously not intended, so that was something that was fixed out. There were adjustments made to XP, which is an interesting one here, because firstly, it seems like there's a good little adjustment here where they increased the XP yield and weapon XP rates for modes that were dubbed less than expected. So Team Deathmatch, Control, Search, and Gunfight now offer more XP and weapon XP, stating the team is closely monitoring XP rates for all modes to ensure players are progressing as expected wherever they play. Now, that's obviously big. Of course, XP gains feel a little bit slower, which for some players, I understand the frustration, but at the same time, we also have everything for this year right up front as we have in prior years. So it's not something that like is going to be as easy as just breezing through the first 200 levels as we've seen the last 5 years, or 4 rather, because Infinity Ward only did a 100 level cap with Modern Warfare 2019. But anyways, you have a lot more to breeze through, so obviously you don't want to burn out too quick on that kind of stuff in terms of XP balancing for what is awarded. But one of the things that was interesting here that was mentioned as well as a change was that decoy grenades removed their XP gains here at this one. So that's going to require a little testing to see the adjustments if it was also removing weapon XP as well, like entirely negating some of these sort of min-maxing factors for ranking stuff up in the last couple of years, or if it's something that's only that player XP was removed. But anyways, we did see some XP adjustments here within Black Ops 6 the last 2 days or so. Matchmaking had some adjustments where it addressed an issue that was preventing matches from quickly finding a replacement player if someone left mid-match. And actually, I did come across this as of last night after this update went live. It was one of those things that I had seen a couple of times where we were just doing pretty well to the point where players were starting to leave the game. But before this update, you would notice that it would just be like a 6v2 or something like that in either a face-off, which got a little annoying, or if you were actually playing standard 6v6, it got even more annoying because the maps are way bigger. Like if you had a 6v2 on Red Card, that is going to just go to time limit for sure. So this now did fix that, where players should start to join a little easier. The firing range, you can now select a loadout in the firing range. Private matches, a very nice fix here that was made was that it no longer forfeits you if one team has 0 players, meaning that if you go in to just look around the map, test out some weapon builds, or like just inspect weapons like I often do for thumbnails, well, it would just forfeit the match for you. You'd have 20 seconds and then the game would end. You'd have to put on a bot and try and do like a workaround where it would be headshot only or something, but then still you could get domed from the bot, even on recruit, depending on the map, because they're so small and they find you immediately. And it was a whole thing, but now that's no longer an issue. Theater mode, they stated they improved theater performance when watching clips, which I'm a little suspicious of because I feel like it's been pretty bad the whole time from what I've seen. Equipment, there were stability to smokes that had been worked on, and again, double dipping a little bit just for the categorical thoroughness here. Decoy grenades did have those XP gains removed, which again, very curious to see if that does negate any weapon XP. That might change some of the weapon XP guide that we're working on here on the channel, but we'll get to that whenever we get to that. And then there were some small fixes for the Dreadnought and the medals in game. The final thing in regards to like build quality is they did mention that they added various crash and stability fixes, and I will say that actually has been something I've noticed as well. I'm not saying that it doesn't still crash or anything like that, and of course, very much so, it depends on whatever hardware you have, whether console, whether PC, what type of hardware in your PC, but at launch, I did notice that literally every time I closed the game, it would end up crashing. So that's a weird thing to say, okay, it crashed when you're trying to get out already, but basically saying the stability of the build wasn't available to end up just simply close the game. It would just bug out and die on you. That is no longer the case. I've had no issues with that as of this update, so definitely nice. Now, that said, that's not the only things that have been fixed or will be fixed. There's still a lot of stuff that is still being investigated, specifically issues where players are spawning in-game while still loading in. So for example, you're there on the enemy's screen the moment you connect to the server, but you're still loading in, getting that animation setting up the game for you. This happened to me a lot in hardcore. Like, I'll join a game and then somehow be 0-1, 0-2, sometimes even 0-3, which is nuts. So that should be getting a fix here shortly, perhaps even as of this video going up if we're lucky. Players could be spawning in with the wrong weapons, and this one was a very weird bug, but I experienced it. On the rare occasion that you did spawn in and you didn't immediately just go to your own point of view and you spectated teammates, instead of being insta-placed by yourself, there was a chance that whoever you were spectating, you'd end up actually having their loadout and unable to get rid of it. I'm not 100% sure if it's another layer of complexity where if you're using the same weapon, you can't get rid of it, but that's what happened to me. I was progressing some of my Frostline camos, ranking that up a bit, and I spawned in with my friends on Warhead, but had one of my friends build for the entirety of the game, because if I go to select my own class, which was also a Frostline that he was using, I'd just be switching from Frostline to Frostline, so the game is like, what are you changing it to? Thankfully, his class was better than mine because it was ranked up and I was kind of starting with no attachments, so for once, it was an annoying bug that actually worked in my favor. And then the final thing they announced that they're investigating, not the only thing, is that players have reported dying as soon as they are choosing a loadout in search, which obviously, one life mode, bad if you can't even play it. So not a whole ton in regards to like massive game-changing updates or anything like that, right? I absolutely think there were some great adjustments here that have been made, but nothing like to write home about. But I think that boils down to a few things. Number one, it's still super early. Like, this is officially speaking day 3 of the game being out. We're still in weekend 1. Major balancing updates and things like that for weapons. Frankly, so far, I think there hasn't been a gun that I'm like, okay, that needs to get torched. I do think there's a few weapons that could get buffs, but that's about it. Anyways, most balancing updates in the last few years have revolved around either seasonal or content updates. 2 birds, 1 stone kind of deal. Adding new content in, a title update that can then shift the sort of foundations of some of the weapon balancing, and that's stuff we just haven't had just yet. With that in mind, we do have to remember we're right around the corner from a pair of content updates already. Nuketown is already in the game files. That's likely going to be a timed release on the 1st, with no title update or anything to download for that, but also, Season 1 is just 2 weeks after that, which will be a title update. So we could absolutely be seeing some sort of balancing update, some sort of major updates and changes going live at that point as well, beyond just bug fixes, stability fixes, and other smaller items that improve the quality of the game, but don't actually change a whole ton foundationally. And not to mention, balancing updates in particular require ample sets of data, which just 3 days in, there can absolutely be a lot more data collected. Like, we certainly have a ton, as Black Ops 6 has already been reported to boost the player numbers quite a bit on launch, higher than last year's with Modern Warfare 3, and I think I saw that it was comparable to like Modern Warfare 2's initial launch numbers. So we certainly have a lot more people playing Black Ops 6, but still, just 3 days in, you could end up getting so much more data by letting that roll a little bit longer than that. But anyways, that is the updates that we had as of the last couple of days here, and looking forward to the future, a few things that will be changed out relatively soon. But anyways, that's where we're going to wrap it up. I want to fill you guys in and let you know all you needed to about these recent updates. If you got some playlist updates, the required restarts of your game, this is what changed in the meantime. So that said, that is where we're going to wrap it up. Let me know your thoughts down below. If you guys enjoyed the video, you found it at all insightful, do me a favor and drop a like on it. And of course, if you are new to the channel, make sure you subscribe so you don't miss a single thing regarding all things Black Ops 6 as we gear up for still so much more up on deck. Again, truly thank you guys for the support as of recently. It has been incredible. But thanks so much. I'll see you guys later. Take care and peace.